Cave of the Winds was one of our favorite things to do on the US side of Niagara Falls. In this video, we are not only going to take you through our experience, but we're going to show you how to do this for yourself. The first thing you need to know is, where is the Cave of the Winds? The Cave of the Winds tour is located on Goat Island inside Niagara Falls State Park on the American side of Niagara Falls. Next we have, what are their opening hours? Cave of the Winds is open year-round with the exception of New Year's Day and Christmas Day. This attraction's hours do change depending on the season. Tickets are usually on sale between the hours of 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Another important question is, what does it cost? Tickets for Cave of the Winds cost $21 for adults, $17 for youths, which are between 6 and 12, and they're free for children 5 and under. You can only get tickets in person, and tickets for Cave of the Winds can be purchased at the ticket booth for Cave of the Winds on Goat Island or at the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Welcome Center. Another very important question is, where can I park? There are 4 main parking lots for Niagara Falls State Park. The closest parking lot to Cave of the Winds is parking lot number 2. It opens year-round with fees varying from $5 to $15 depending on whether it's peak season or not. You are probably also wondering how much time you need to leave for Cave of the Winds. Be sure to leave at least 1 hour for the experience. On busier days, the wait to get in can vary, and it can be anywhere from 15 minutes to 1 hour as well. And now that we have all of the information out of the way, it's time to get on to our adventure at the Cave of the Winds. We're starting things off at the ticket booth. We were getting a little bit of a late start, but luckily not so late that we couldn't get tickets to get in. As a little bit of foreshadowing, this sign is extremely true. With tickets in hand, you will be heading into a small exhibit area. If you like learning and random facts, you will be in heaven here. Everything has a neat old-timey vibe, and you can learn about everything from Niagara Falls itself to the hydroelectric power that it generates. They even have this old-time movie that you have to crank to watch, and it really makes you grateful that you can just kick back and watch YouTube nowadays. Eventually, a door will open and you will be making your way into this theater. Here you will be learning even more about Niagara Falls and its beginnings. We don't want to spoil too much about the information that you will be learning in this room, but let's just say that it is extremely interesting. The movie is only about 15 minutes long, and soon everyone's going to be back up on their feet and heading towards the base of the falls. You will be heading back outside, and if you have anyone in your group that is not going to the base of the falls and you want to give them something to hold on to stay dry, this is your last chance. Because we will now be cramming into some fairly small elevators and dropping 175 feet down into a tunnel. Down here you will find more vintage posters that are pretty fun to look at, and once you reach the end of the tunnel, this is where you will be grabbing your poncho. As just a little bit of a pro tip, if you did Maid of the Mist earlier in the day, the ponchos for it are much nicer. The ponchos that they gave us at the Cave of the Winds were a little bit flimsy, so you may want to repurpose that Maid of the Mist poncho if you have the chance. Something that is really important to bring along with you on your Cave of the Winds experience is shoes that will give you a decent amount of traction, but also shoes that you don't mind getting wet. And I'm not just talking about a little bit damp, your shoes are going to get absolutely soaked. Almost as soon as you set foot on the wooden boardwalks, you're going to get absolutely incredible views of Bridal Veil Falls. Even though this is the smallest of the 3 falls that combine to create Niagara Falls, it still cranks out a ton of water. Next, you will need to be very careful that you don't step on your poncho as you descend down towards the Niagara River. From down here, you should get a slight glimpse of Horseshoe Falls, that is if it isn't completely covered in mist. One of the only mistakes that we made on our visit is going too close to closing time. There are so many unique photo ops along the way, and typically they won't rush you through the boardwalk section. But that is a different story if you happen to be visiting when it's time to close. We did have some employees kind of making sure that the traffic was moving along, and it was a little bit of a bummer because I would have loved to have taken a million more pictures, but at the end of the day, you have to understand they just want to go home to their families. One thing that we were really impressed with was the construction of the wooden boardwalks. These things are getting absolutely pounded on by the waterfalls all the time. The Cave of the Winds opened to the public way back in 1929, but these wooden boardwalks have not seen any significant improvements since the late 1980s. This is the point where the most fun parts of the tour start to kick in. As you start to climb your way up towards the top, you're going to come to parts where the waterfall actually crashes down on the boardwalks. You are going to start off by just getting a little splash here and there, but as you climb up towards the top, you are going to get drenched. This is a great chance to feel the full power of Mother Nature. Not only does the water seem to get a little bit more rowdy up here, but so do the crowds. This is a really unique experience, and I will say that the biggest challenge is keeping your lens water spot free. It's pretty much impossible.
Once again, it's moist out here. It's a little moist.
We are now climbing our way up to the very top deck, and this is also known as the Hurricane Deck. I will say that this is a very appropriate name for it because between the water and the wind, it feels like you are getting blasted in the middle of a hurricane. It seems like all rules cease to exist up here. There is no calm line where you wait for a photo. Instead, it's a bit more like a mosh pit at a rock concert. People were just running around everywhere taking pictures and video, and luckily we ended up getting a couple for ourselves. From there, your Cave of the Winds experience has pretty much come to a close. You'll be heading back the same way that you came and getting back on that small elevator. But this time with a whole bunch of soaking wet people. What do you think about the Cave of the Winds? Is this something that you would do? If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because that really helps out the channel. If you have suggestions for future episodes, let us know in the comments. And for all the information about Cave of the Winds, as well as other awesome Niagara Falls adventures, head on over to 𝐿𝑖𝐍𝐅𝐻.com.